Hey, elephants are so huge that toughness is a silly subject. No shoulder-fired rifle has enough power to really impress an elephant. It's all about shot placement. They can be killed readily, but only by bullet penetration into brain, spine, heart, and lungs. Some of our really modern expanding bullets are actually tough enough to provide adequate penetration on some shots, but only non-expanding solid bullets designed specifically for penetration can provide reliable penetration on all potential shots. That said, with elephants, we're asking for a great deal of penetration, often through massive bone. No caliber of bullet's going to work every single time, so with elephants, it's extremely important to keep in mind what might happen next and be prepared for fast follow-up shots. Though either will at least immobilize an elephant instantly, neither is recommended for an initial shot. The target's too small, and the risks of a non-fatal wounding shot much too high. By the time most hunters go on an elephant safari, they've read too many old books and watched too many DVDs, and they want to make that frontal brain shot. It is not recommended. The skull is huge, the brain is small, and it's easy to make a mistake. The biggest challenge with the frontal brain shot is the brain lies well back in the skull, so its relative position changes with distance and head angle.
Bearing in mind the brain is about the size of an American football and is totally surrounded and protected by this huge bulky bone.
And it sits a whole lot lower in the skull than a lot of people believe.
Generally speaking, at moderate distance, maybe 15 yards, and in a resting attitude, directly between the eyes is about right. Very close, in the final instant of a charge, the elephant will drop its head, so center of the forehead is more correct. When the elephant is threatening, he raises his head, or when he's very close, the uphill angle now requires shooting well below the eyes and requiring even more penetration.
And that means you're going to have to penetrate this much bone to reach that brain.
Exactly. As the elephant gets closer to you and his head goes down, so your point of entry of your shot becomes higher and higher and less bone to go through. The other major problem you have with a frontal with the elephant is that your elephant's ivory sockets end up right above the eye. And depending on the size of the bull, you've got anything from 22 to 26 inches of ivory in the head. And any slight side shot, undoubtedly the hunter ends up hitting the ivory and damaging the ivory.
It's not true that a near miss to the brain will always stun an elephant. Sometimes, but don't count on it.
This is where you have that honeycomb bone that they talk about that just soaks up the shock, right?
If someone puts a shot through the honeycomb, Craig, undoubtedly the elephant will walk away. It's not going to go down.
The most likely result of a failed brain shot is that, absent rapid follow-up shots, that elephant will never be seen again. However, despite the most careful maneuvering to get into position, the elephant ultimately decides what shot angle is offered. If an elephant senses something amiss, it'll often confront the threat, which means a frontal brain shot will be offered. Avoid it if you can, but study it hard. The brain lies at the center of the broomstick, so while external aiming point changes with head attitude and distance, aiming to break that broomstick is always the right shooting solution. If the frontal brain shot is successful, the back legs usually collapse first and the elephant is down so fast that he literally falls out from under the recoil of the rifle. If the brain shot fails, things happen just as fast, but you should instantly recognize that you've flubbed and you have to shoot again immediately and more accurately. By the time you've recovered from recoil, it'll be too late to try a frontal brain again, but the elephant will normally turn away. So in very rapid succession, fractions of seconds, you'll be offered first the side brain shot, then the shoulder shot, and then, as a last resort, a going away shot to either hip or spine. Although still not recommended for first-time elephant hunters, the side brain shot is much easier to visualize than the frontal brain, and it's just as deadly. Unlike with the frontal brain, from the side the relative position of the brain doesn't change with head angle and changes only slightly with distance.
I've got Coffee actually pointing out the ear hole there, and as the head pivots up, there's no movement.
No, that doesn't move.
Do you
that
see that?
stays the same.
It really is the pivot point.
The frontal shot changes radically and the side shot doesn't change at all.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Viewed from the side, the elephant's ear hole is very visible. Perfect shot placement for the side brain shot with a broadside presentation is simply 1 hand's breadth, 3 or 4 inches, in front of the ear hole. At a very slight quartering away angle, the ear hole is the aiming point. At a very slight quarter-to angle, shoot slightly in front of the ear hole. As with the frontal brain, things happen quickly, and you'll know instantly if your shot failed or was successful. But with a failed brain shot, things happen even faster. There'll only be a split second for a follow-up shoulder shot, and then a split second later, the only opportunity is the going away spine or hip shot. This is the shot preferred by most professional hunters and the shot that's recommended for first-time elephant hunters. The target's huge, the aiming point's clear, and if properly executed, the result is certain. The shoulder heart shot is not as dramatic as the brain shot. An elephant so hit can be expected to run 50 to possibly 200 yards, but losing an elephant to even a marginal chest cavity shot is extremely unlikely. The elephant has a very prominent crease behind the shoulder that looks very much like an upside-down V. Find that crease and come up to the top. The crease will end about 1/3 up from the brisket. Perfect. Broadside, the top of the V is a perfect lung shot. Quartering slightly away, the top of the V is a top of heart shot. For the perfect shoulder heart shot, however, with a broadside presentation, find the top of the upside-down V, then, depending on how the elephant is standing, move about 6 to 10 inches left or right toward the center of the shoulder. The hit slightly higher back will still be solidly in the lungs, but it's important to stay below the horizontal halfway point. Such a hit should be quickly fatal, but the elephant is going to run, and you can't be certain of either shot placement or bullet performance, so follow up that first shot if you possibly can.